implementing formative assessments for enhancing student engagement within a diverse urban secondary health classroom. The purpose of it was to examine the utilization and impact of formative assessments on student engagement and learning outcomes. The research question was, how do school staff members describe their teaching practices when it comes to implementing formative assessments for enhancing student engagement within a diverse urban secondary health classroom? There were 7 staff members who participated in this action research project, 6 of them being from the physical education and health department, which included our department head, and there was one additional teacher who participated, all from New Bern High School. I made a 10-question survey that had to do with formative assessments and their relation to effectiveness, strategies, planning, and the implementation of them. In the survey, there were 2 types of questions: Likert scale questions and a few open ended. My survey was given electronically via Google Forms, which gave teachers the ability to respond at their own convenience, which was big, especially because we were at the end of the school year. And in my opinion, Google Forms are great because they organize the data for you into charts or graphs if applicable, and the Google Form updates in real time as responses come in. Data analysis is the next few slides. When I got all of the surveys back, I went through them, each response one by one, to see if there were any reoccurring words, phrases, and ideas. After I did this, I grouped those phrases, words, and ideas into categories. And based on those categories, I developed my themes. This is just an example of the open ended and a chart I used to make it easier for me to see if there was anything reoccurring. So on the left, I put the question, and on the right, I made a row for each teacher and the response that they gave. So these were just for the open ended questions. After I looked at every single one of the questions and responses and I made my themes, I tried to see if there were any overarching themes, things mentioned over and over, and if there were any trends. These were the themes in this. I'm only going to go over the 2 bold ones. It's felt when students are interested in the topic/unit being taught, they are more engaged and perform better on assessments. Every teacher has seen a different strategy that has helped students understand the material more than others. My first major finding that my data showed was that teachers do employ a variety of formative assessments and they do it often. I show the question that I asked in my survey along with the answers I received for this question. If I were to do this again, I would ask, what strategies do students respond best to? What formative assessments do they perform best on? And how often is often that they give these formative assessments? My second major finding is that the majority of teachers use data to try and improve strategies and look for resources to try and improve both engagement and formative assessment results. I chose 2 articles from my literature review. I'll just go over the purpose. The first one being formative and summative assessment in the classroom. What this article discussed is the purposes, differences, characteristics, gave examples of both formative and summative assessments and how they can all tie together in improving student outcomes. My second article had to do with implementing classroom assessment techniques in music, art, physical education, and health. Classroom assessment techniques are strategies used by teachers to receive feedback on the teaching learning process as it's happening. Feedback can be to both teachers and students. So, in this article, it goes through different classroom assessment techniques and what can be used to raise student performance. My recommendations went along with my data and or my major findings. That is, I recommend incorporating a diverse range of strategies and formative assessments in the classroom to get insights on what is most effective in increasing engagement, student learning, and performance. I also recommend adopting and implementing classroom assessment techniques. Two examples are memory matrix, which is a way of taking notes, getting key ideas, um, key factors, anything that is given throughout the lesson, and misconception, preconception, which is big in health because there's a lot of misconceptions about certain topics that students have, and going through and getting rid of those misconceptions before you get into that lesson or unit. For the conclusion, my data and findings did address the research question, giving insight on various aspects of formative assessment practices, techniques, and how they impact student involvement. Two strengths of this action research study were using both quantitative and qualitative data collection techniques, adding open ended questions in the survey to collect more detailed information from teachers. That's one strength. The second strength is relevancy because formative assessments are relevant. All teachers give them, all teachers should be hoping to improve on them. So, those are two strengths, I believe, of this study. One limitation is the small sample size. I only had 7 teachers participate. 6 of them, as I mentioned, are in the physical education and health department. One was not. A bigger sample size might give me more information and different perspectives on these areas that we're going over. Through conducting this study, I learned certain strategies and techniques can be valuable tools for increasing student engagement and performance, and I'd like to try different strategies out. I'd like to see what works, see what doesn't work, practice it, and I think it's important because I'm always trying to improve as an educator, and I would always try to help all of my students and help them improve.